everybody, to the Cahokia Archaeological Society meeting. Our program tonight is Angela Cooper. Dr. Cooper is the new site service specialist too at Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site, filling my old job. I finally decided to hire somebody. Angela did her undergraduate work at SIU, I believe.
Yes.
And then got her PhD in anthropology at Tulsa University. Previously, she'd been one of my interns at Cahokia, designed a permanent exhibit on the Hopewell artifacts. Was also a seasonal worker and volunteer. She also assisted John Kelly on some of his projects at Cahokia, and also I believe you worked with ISAS on the East St. Louis project. So she's well versed in what's going on in this area. Most recently, she lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, working as a museum curator for the Minuteman National Historical Park, conducting research on a free African man named Case, and hoping to expand his story. With 3 degrees in anthropology and a focus on Illinois archaeology, Angela is looking forward to continuing her work at the site, educating visitors about Cahokia Mounds and its people. And tonight, she'll be talking about other mounds around the world.
Yeah.
Angela.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you all for coming. I'm really excited to be back home and to be here and to have my dream job. It's okay. I started the position the week that I moved here from Cambridge, so my brain is still kind of like all over the place, so be patient with me, if you will. So I decided I wanted to talk about mounds of the world because I know a lot about the mounds here that we all are familiar with, but also the S in my name is my middle name, it's Suk. My mother is Korean, and so I also know a little bit about Korean mounds, and I wanted to do just a little bit of research on other mounds around the world, because I always tell visitors that just because something is similar doesn't mean it's from the same group of people, and I use that as an example of Korean people still burying their dead in mounds. So like my grandfather is buried under a small mound. So what are mounds? There's different terms: tumulus, tumuli for multiple mounds, a barrow, cairn, or I put a question for dolmen, because mounds or tumulus, barrow, they mean, or cairn, all three mean either putting earth or stones over remains, human remains. And so I thought, why not include dolmens, because they are also things that you cover human remains with. And again, because I know that the most dolmens in the world are actually in Korea, so I was like, I gotta add that in there. But I won't be talking specifically about dolmens. It's just kind of a question for everyone, we can think about. Is it its own thing or not? And then this image is, does anyone know what this image is up here?
Looks familiar.
It's amongst a mound, we all know that, but for anyone watching who doesn't, largest earthenwork in the Americas, or you could say largest earthen pyramid. So if you're in Mexico, they'll say, well, we have bigger, or in other, like Guatemala or something, we'll have bigger pyramids, but those are stone. This is all made from earth, so we've got that for us at Cahokia Mounds. This is actually a modern barrow in England, so again, like how I mentioned my grandfather's under a mound. Some people are starting to do that back in England, bringing back those traditional ways of caring for our dead. And then this is a cairn. It's mostly rocks and stones, and that's in Ireland. And again, this dolmen, that's in Korea. So where are mounds? So I gave a few examples, but where are mounds? they're all over the world. So again, my title, Mounds Around the World, literally around the world. We humans, someone dies and we like to cover them up to protect their bodies, and we build mounds, and we do them in unique ways according to the environment we are adapted to. That's where a lot of culture and language comes from, is human adaptability of going across these different landscapes and then utilizing those resources to survive, be humans. And one of those ways to show that culture is through burying our dead. This is from the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I literally put in mounds in the search engine and it popped up 47 mounds, cultural, just a couple mixed, cultural and natural, so that's the yellow and green. So meaning there's already maybe a hill or something, and then they're utilizing that as a burial or in some other way related to what they're doing at the site. Majority of these places that I've chosen are archaeological sites. So to start off around the world, we're going to start with Africa, the birthplace of humanity. And these are from some of these sites. Well, a majority of the sites I found were actually from the UNESCO World Heritage Site, because I knew that it was very well documented and researched. So the first one I have is Gebel Barkal and the sites of the Nabatan region in Sudan. They're from 900 to 270 BC and 270 BC to 350 AD in the kingdom of Kush. And there are actually 5 archaeological sites ranging around the Nile Valley. And then you can see in the image, some of these are built like pyramids, but there are also some mounds. So again, burials. The stone circles of the Senegambia, part of it is in what is now Gambia, and part is what is now Senegal. They are along, there's over 1,000 monuments like this along the River Gambia, and it dates from 3rd century BC to 16th century AD. And again, burial mounds. And then we come down in Senegal to the Saloum Delta, and this is like a picture outside of their their education center, and they're actually shell middens that they would use to bury people in. So they're consuming the shell and then burying people in. So similar to Poverty Point in Louisiana, another UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it has 218 mounds, burial sites on 28 of those mounds. And then we don't have dates for that, so I apologize. So Asian, mostly Korean, because if we go back, most of them are actually in Korea, and I wanted to point out the Goguryeo Kingdom ranged in Korea, like all the way out here actually. And so technically now it is in China, so if you're trying to find it under the heritage site list, it's going to be listed in China, but it is Korean. And that's this one, regarding the Korean ones, I did in age, so 277 BC to AD 668. The next one is the Doman Burial Mounds in Bahrain. As the name implies, burial mounds. For the Korean ones as well, the tombs, they are built with stone, like, so it is like kind of like a mausoleum, and then earth is piled on top. The Gaia Tumuli, again, very similar to what we see at Cahokia Mounds, conical, and those are burial. Up here. And again, so those are the Gaia, and then the Gyeongju Mounds. In Gyeongju, there's, it says historic areas because it's not just the tombs from the Shilla Kingdom. There's a lot of really awesome stuff. The National Museum of Korea, or National Korean Museum, is there as well, with a lot of significant Korean artifacts. One of the cool things in Gyeongju is this is not a mound, but it's really cool. It's an astronomical observatory tower, and it's actually the oldest one now standing in Asia, and a queen had it built. So I just wanted to point out, Korean queen did that, very educated and scientifically minded. And then a later time period, or not later, more recent time period is the Joseon dynasty, and those are again burial mounds. So I don't know if anyone knows Korean history, but after Joseon, it was kind of like occupation, and then, you know, World War II and the Korean War, and then how Korea is today. And then another Asian site is in Mongolia, Deerstone monuments. Those are on the Khangai Ridge. There's stones. You can kind of see them. They like mark significant areas. So this is also a sacred burial place. It says belonging to the culture of Eurasian Bronze Age, and it's from the 2nd to 1st millennia BC. And then Oceania, because some countries consider Oceania a continent, and I felt that was really easy to bring a bunch of island groups together. When I was researching this, I was like, okay, I feel like everyone builds mounds, but let me double check. I've never heard of any Aboriginal mounds. And these are actually sand mounds that for a long time people thought were either like turkey nests or just regular sand dunes. But there's actually ancestral Aboriginals buried here. So they are utilizing, again, the resources they have to protect and maintain their culture, and protect and maintain the bodies of their dead. And then this, I couldn't find an actual photograph. It's from an archaeological journal in antiquity, and they were in the Kingdom of Tonga, and so you can see through the, I think this is LiDAR, the mounds around here, and there are a bunch of human remains, and I didn't want to show those, so I just chose that picture. And then this is the Cook Early Agricultural Site of Papua New Guinea, and you can see like open excavations, and it is from 7,000 to 6,400 years ago, and they were propagating bananas, taro, and yarn. And it says that these practices over time were possibly used as early as 10,000 BP to present day. And then we get into the Americas, where I'm most familiar with, and again, we've got the best, well, not best, I shouldn't qualify anything, but the biggest mound, Monk's Mound at Cahokia Mound State Historic Site, Mississippian. It is the oldest Mississippian site, and then all others kind of were inspired and grew from there. This one I thought was really interesting is the agave landscape and ancient industrial facilities of tequila. And so they were utilizing agave to make some special drinks that maybe some of us enjoy. And it is a very, I don't want to say like typical, but it's Tenochtitlan, so there's ceremonial mounds, there's agriculture going on, and ball courts. So when you imagine the layout of a Mexican, whether it's like Maya or Tenochtitlan, or there's going to be ball courts and then mounds on the sides. And some of these mounds are burial mounds, some of them are just structural. And even though those structural mounds are not burial, like Monk's Mound is structural, it is still cultural, right? They're creating these to express something within their culture, what it means to them. Then the San Agustin Archaeological Park, there is not images that I could find on the UNESCO site of the mounds, but they have, it's also famous for these monumental stoneworks that I believe they are, it's the largest complex of pre-Columbian megalithic funerary monuments and statuary. So they're part of that burial practice of burying their dead under mounds and then establishing these monuments, which is similar to over in Mongolia. So there's similarities, but it doesn't mean it's the same people doing these things and traveling thousands and thousands of miles to do this. People just do the same thing because it's easy. And then this is in Peru, and so you can see the mounds here as well as this like amazing site. And then this pre-Columbian chiefdom settlements with stone spheres of Iquiques, and those are really interesting. There's these huge round stones, and some of them are in a circle, but there's not a mound there. But like here's a mound, and those were again like kind of structural, cultural, not related to burials. So I thought that was interesting. And that site is from 8500 to 1500, so around Cahokia Mounds time frame, so that's cool. And then European, there's quite a bit as well. So the tumulus of Bougon, I apologize if I mispronounced that, or necropolis of Bougon, that is the oldest tumulus in Europe, the Western Europe. And then this is the tumulus of the Athenians, and this is a burial mound of Athenian men, soldiers, from the Battle of Marathon, which took place August-September 490 BCE, and it was at Marathon in Greece. And their ally, the Plataea, which also has a mound. It's not the same shape, but there's another burial mound for them. And they attacked a Persian expeditionary force of some 25,000 infantry, 1,000 cavalry, with 100,000 armed sailors acting as reserves. The Greeks counted 6,400 dead Persians on the field, but could make no account for those who fled. Herodotus states that the Athenians lost 192 men in battle and the Plataeans lost 11, so very impressive battle. Gibb Hill in England, it's part of complex. There are other barrows nearby. This is just a singular one. It's in Derbyshire, England. It's thought to be Neolithic, and the one of the owners in the 1800s did do some casual excavation, we will say. And this is the Thracian tomb of Speshtari. I apologize, I'm Bulgarian. It's in Bulgaria. It is a 3rd century BC Thracian tomb, and it reflects the structural principles of that Thracian cult building. So it's got a unique shaped entrance, and then there's some stones and then earth piled on top. They were, this also has some figurines inside and outside. So again, utilizing monumental stonework to mark these significant and sacred places. And then, oh, I forgot to cite this one, but those are in Lithuania, Krnave Archaeological Site. It has 11,000 years of continuous human use. And there's 15 archaeological and 3 historical monuments. And then this one, which I did not cite, is in Birka and Hovgarden in Sweden. And you can kind of see it. I thought this was going to be bigger, but there's these group of individuals, this group of people going out, and back here are the burial mounds. So again, burial mounds, burial mounds, burial mounds. Everyone's burying their dead in mounds. And I think Europe is the last one. So questions? Yes?
Yeah, the Korean ones, are they North Korea or South Korea?
So these
Are they in both?
they're in both. So before the Korean War, before I would say it was probably towards the end of World War II is when it happened, right? The Russian and Chinese are coming in from the north, and the Americans are coming in, and that's when the war starts. So where this dot is, it, like some maps show Korea going all the way up here, but like currently North Korea is just like a little bit here. So it's the Goguryeo one is in North Korea. They actually have 2 Goguryeo tombs in North Korea, but this one is technically in present-day China. Yeah, and then the rest of these ones are all in the southern peninsula, and this is not a good map, but Gyeongju is like right there. So that one's more southern, not quite coastal, but close to the coast. Yes.
With other cultures, I know about North American cultures, but in other countries, are they sensitive to DNA and testing of the remains that are found? Are there, it pops up on my phone all the time around the world, but are most countries interested in doing that? Mapping migration and...
I don't know. I know that there are geneticists around the world who are interested in early human migration, and so they will utilize DNA, and it's way more intense than like Ancestry,
Right.
or 20 or whatever the other ones are, and so they're looking for where people are coming from and how they're spreading out through the world. With regards to who the people are in there who are buried, what I tell people is at least the United States, our discipline is based on studying other people. it's a separate discipline from history. Whereas a lot of other countries, they're studying their own people. So like archaeology is not a part of the discipline of anthropology, it's under the discipline of history. So I don't know what people are doing in other countries regarding DNA and family lineage, but they're studying their own people so they know who's there. Yeah, yes.
I might be able to add something to that. If you look on the map between the Caspian Sea and China, you'll notice that there are 2 yellow dots there, but a lot of blank area above India.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see those? Yes, that and the one that's directly to the west. The one on the right is the Altai mountain area, and that one they have done DNA testing on because they were puzzled that these people that they were finding, their bodies were very well preserved and they looked very Caucasian.
Right.
But they were in an area that was part of China, and through DNA they realized that they were nomadic and were going all across that Central Asian area. And that other dot, the one that was to the west, is in the area by Kyrgyzstan, where they found those tumuli that were mainly women warriors that were buried. And they've done DNA studies on those too, and those were all nomadic in that Central Asian area.
Weren't they kind of Turkey? The
Yes.
ones they found in China? They thought it would be.
No, not really. They were actually more Caucasian. Very strange.
Turkey's Caucasian.
No, the Turks are from Mongolia area.
Any other questions?
Oh, are there any mounds with the natives in Canada?
Yes,
Mhm.
sorry, I didn't, because I had
I see this
so
whole area.
many.
I see this whole area in North America.
So this is just UNESCO
Right,
World
UNESCO,
Heritage
yeah.
Sites, but again, like I said, there's some in Australia, there's some throughout the Oceania. There are actually also Hawaiians, ancestral Hawaiians buried there, dead in mounds. I'm not sure about people today, but the Hawaiian DNR website has a whole thing about it, so it is common to come across. So what's a better? So there's actually a bunch of I don't know how many, but there are quite a few mounds up here, and some of them range to archaic as well. But I don't think they're as old as Poverty Point. There's one that they also call Serpent Mounds, but it's not at all similar to the Ohio Serpent Mound. So there are some, but because I started pulling from the UNESCO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Comments? Concerns?
Welcome back.
Anybody asking questions on Facebook?
Nope, we've got several people watching, so.
Okay, good.
Well, hello, Facebook. Yeah, so it's just a little sneak peek of mounds around the world, and it just kind of ties in with talking to visitors and letting them know, like, yes, Vikings buried their dead in mounds, and so did a bunch of other people, and they're not at Cahokia mounds. The indigenous people are at Cahokia mounds. So I just wanted to let people have that percolate in their mind. We just like burying our dead under mounds. The end.
All right, thank you. So, you got your first exposure to the new bill.
Angela.
I was gonna say, I hope I'm cuter.
Seems she lasts 48 years too. so.
I'm not sure.
One thing that I've been working on too, and I've got it laid out on the table over here, so before you leave today, I've already talked about it in the past at some of the meetings here about the Cahokia style engraved stone tablets. And there's a archaeology conference going on Saturday down in Carbondale. The Illinois Archaeological Survey's having their annual meeting and programs, and I'll be doing the poster presentation there. And I'm also going to be doing that at the Midwest Archaeology Conference down in Bowling Green, Kentucky in October. So trying to find out if there are more specimens out there that I'm not aware of, but if you get a chance before you leave, you can take a look at the little poster over there. So as far as other research that's going on at Cahokia this year, it's been limited to primarily a remote sensing project. There's a major grant that some of our colleagues received, and they did some initial scanning of the site back in, I think it was May, but they're supposed to be coming back in the next few weeks to do additional work. It's like a 4-year project, so they've got this array of sensing equipment, includes 16, mostly I think magnetometry units on it, and they'll be just dragging that with an ATV across as much of the site as they can. And we've already done some initial work, but after that gets done, then we'll probably have some presentations about that in some future meetings. Also, Tim Hocketat from the University of Illinois is doing some remote sensing. He wants to do some testing of some of the smaller conical mounds at the site, because his hypothesis is that a lot of those are not for burials, but for they were sort of flat top round mounds that had circular buildings on them. He calls them water shrines, and he's trying to test some of those with some again remote sensing to see if he can confirm his hypothesis. He started that this week, I believe, and will be out there. Can't go out there much longer because we now have hunting season at the mounds. Some of these remote areas like the Kuhneman Tract and the Rattlesnake Tract of the site, the northern and southern limits, and so you can't be out there when the hunters are out there. So trying to diminish the deer population in Cahokia. It's gotten kind of overrun and inbred quite a bit. So
Bill, is this still bow hunting?
Bow hunting.
Is this still bow hunting?
yeah, primarily bow hunting, and I don't know if they're going to allow any other type. But
Lori said just bow, just archery.
No
although
addle-addles?
occasionally we do
Never
hear
heard about addle.
gunshots going off. There are poachers out there too. Some other things that are going on at Cahokia, that we have the calendar of events we set out on the tables here. Of course, this Sunday, if you're not doing anything at 6:30 in the morning, you can join us at Woodhenge for the fall equinox observance. We're actually a day late. We do it on the Sunday closest to the event so that more people can come out and learn about it. But it may be raining possibly, but we've been out there with umbrellas. And I usually give the presentation there. But sometimes it may be raining here, but on the horizon there's a break in the clouds and you can see the sun show up. So we go out there, rain or shine, and you're welcome to join us. They will be having
We sit in the car, it's raining.
I guess our biggest crowd we've had there was it was a fall equinox a few years ago. We had I think about 125 people show up. And the sun showed up too.
At the
Oh, good.
Even better.
One fall equinox.
Then October 14th, the nature culture hike, from 1 to 4, led by, Julie Zimmerman from SIU. Guess she dropped the Holt name since she got divorced. Julie Zimmerman will be leading that. She's an archaeologist from SIU Eversville.
I hope the hunting season will be over.
Yeah. The
Kids
area
Day.
where we conduct that is not in the hunting area. There are specified areas for hunting, not
Kids-
just anywhere.
Kids Day.
Kids Day, October 7th, coming up from 10 to 3, lots of hands-on activities and for kids of all ages. Yeah, it's a free event. We'll have some food and refreshments and things there as well. Also, on November 11th, we're going to have an artifact identification day. It's been a couple of years since we've had one of those, and we want to do that. It's one of the few things that we can do with the limited opening of the lobby and the activity room where we do the identification. Because of the problems with getting contractors for construction, the building's going to be closed most of the time for probably at least another year or so. But we do try to have some events. I say we, even though I'm retired, I could have you tell me.
You just started. I was like, okay, I'll let Bill keep
But
going.
we try to have some events and activities to keep people involved. And some of those events, then the gift shop is also open. And you can still order things through the gift shop online.
And we still have tours.
And
Yes.
we still have guided tours
10 and
seasonally through October, I guess.
I think we're gonna try to do into November,
Okay.
until Catherine
And
leaves.
they're like 10 and 1, is it?
10 and 1, and
Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday, you need to call to make a just to say I want to join it, because if no one calls, then we're not going to do it. Sometimes, if we have the capability, the gift shop will be open. So like for the equinox, the sunrise observance, I believe it will be Rebecca. She'll have like kind of tiny pop-up out of the truck or something, and you can buy things from there. I forgot to ask if then the gift shop will be open if anyone needed to come to the center. It will be open for Kids Day as well. Probably open for the identification day. So we're just trying to be conscious about attendance and how we can manage it.
Usually for
Angela, the number they call for the tour, is it the same number as the?
The best one to call is the 5161, because our phone lines have been down.
5161?
Yes.
We just had a correction that she's only selling during the equinox.
Okay.
She's only selling during the equinox?
Okay, sorry. I wasn't sure.
What comes before 5161?
346.
yeah, 618-346-5161. Yes, sir.
Last year I was out in the Dakotas and, seeing all of the Lewis and Clark and Lakota stuff and all that. But in one of the museums and the stores, I always bragged, I live by Cahokia, wherever I go. And everybody's like, I tell them, you gotta go, but wait, because the building's still closed. Anyway, so one of the men that was working in the Lakotas was gonna come in last year for one of the wood hinge Knox's things that you do or did or whatever. But I just thought that was kind of neat, when travel. I told him the building, the whole museum, you can't go through it right now because it was leaking.
Right.
I just wanted to say that I thought was really neat that
Yeah, and
They
one
make the
of the
trip.
problems with getting contractors too is, we did get the roof has been replaced, that was
Oh,
the first
okay.
job, that was, and it wasn't leaking, but it was.
Oh, well, that was my story.
Adding other problems. And,
Okay.
but getting the contractors, one of the problems was that some of them didn't wanna bid because of all the artifacts and displays and things that would be.
Oh, they were worried.
So, this past,